Welcome back. A pro-life advocacy group is targeting 8 Democratic lawmakers over their stance on abortion with a 6-figure digital ad campaign.
Now they want to overturn decades of bipartisan consensus that taxpayers shouldn't foot the bill for abortions. That's right.
The ads run by the Susan B. Anthony list are aimed at vulnerable Democrats running for election. They coincide with a new push for the return of the Hyde Amendment, restricting taxpayer dollars from funding abortions. In a letter to Congress from 22 state attorneys general, Alabama Attorney General Steve Marshall writes, the decisions to reject the Hyde Amendment is an affront to state sovereignty.
And Attorney General Marshall joins us now. Thank you for being with us, sir. It's great to have you tonight. So it wasn't long ago that this issue really had broad support from both sides of the aisle. Why is the Hyde Amendment now off the table for Democrats?
I think what we clearly are seeing is that the Democrats are playing politics with the lives of unborn children. This was an issue that when the Hyde Amendment was first adopted in 1976 had true bipartisan support. President Biden was clearly during his time in the Senate very supportive of the idea that if you opposed abortion, you had an absolute right not to have your taxpayer funds spent to fund abortions on demand. And now we've seen a clear flip-flop where Democrats are playing politics with now the lives of 2.5 million children that have been saved since the Hyde Amendment's been adopted.
You know, in many ways, the Hyde Amendment was never really seen as the perfect solution for taxpayers who oppose abortions. Many complained it was just a ledger line fix. Still, can you talk about how rejecting the Hyde Amendment for many Christians and social conservatives is a violation of freedom of conscience?
Well, it absolutely is. For example, when we have an opposition to the way that our tax money is spent in our states, we can go to another state where we have the opportunity to be able to exercise our clear thoughts about how government should operate and how our tax dollars should be spent by leaving that location, which is doing it the wrong way. Here, when the federal government is dictating what the policy should be, there's no American that can avoid the application of their tax dollars being spent on abortions if, in fact, the Hyde Amendment is removed. I mean, this is something not only that's fiscally responsible, but more importantly, we've seen the clear saving of lives of children now, almost 60,000 a year. If you look at where the data currently is compared to before the Hyde Amendment, we lost the lives of almost 300,000 children between 1973 and 1980.
How did you put together this coalition of states attorneys general?
I think our colleagues and the 21 that signed the letters with us are very much supportive of what we can do to protect life, and understanding that this was an issue that not only made sense for our federal budget, but also was making a difference in our own communities. The 22 attorneys general who have come together are making a very principled statement about what the policy of the federal government should be, and also challenging Democrats to be able to explain why suddenly this needs to change. Because the reality is, this is all about politics. This is about this administration bowing to the far left and changing what was a valid exercise of federal authority and allowing those like me who don't believe their tax dollars should be spent to fund abortions to be able to know that that's not where that's going.
Are you hopeful that the Hyde Amendment will be returned to the federal budget under this current administration? And what would need to happen to make that a reality?
I think we're very hopeful. I think there's clear opportunity for bipartisan support to be able to put it back in. We believe very strongly that the Republican leadership in both the House and the Senate can stand strong to make sure this is included as a rider to the current amendment process. But what we also know is that Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer are going to do everything they can to keep this amendment removed. And it's the value of the filibuster, it's the value of the Republicans being able to stay together that ultimately is going to allow what we believe should take place and what's been going on since 1980, and that's to ensure that all Americans can have clear understanding that their funding through taxes are not being spent to pay for abortions.
I'd love to get you to weigh in on this. The debate over abortion is often framed for people on the left as women's reproductive rights and choice. But for those on the right, it's about the 62 million lives that have been taken since Roe v. Wade was enacted and called legalized abortion. I wonder, many say that our laws are a reflection of our society. And given that you uphold the laws in the state of Alabama, I wonder if I can get you to weigh in on what abortion and legalized abortion means as a statement for our society.
I think it's a testament to who we are as a people, that if we can't stand for life, then where could we truly be advocates for? And if you look at where the American populace is on this subject, while there may be more those that believe in pro-choice than pro-life generally, when we ask specifically the question of whether or not they believe that their tax dollars should be spent for paying for abortions, 58% of Americans, that's Republicans, Democrats, and independents, believe that that's an improper process to allow for federal funding to go for that purpose. A majority of Republicans, a majority of independents, and even many Democrats support this effort. And so for this amendment to be able to stay in place, we believe that there's a reflection of where society is right now. And although I clearly oppose abortion as a practice, believe that Roe versus Wade was wrongfully decided, this is one that both Republicans and Democrats can get behind to ensure that those that President Biden even said in 1994 in a letter, that if you oppose abortion, you should be assured that the government will not compel your tax funds to be paid for that purpose.
Okay.
And we're simply asking for that to be implemented here.
All right. About Alabama Attorney General Steve Marshall, thank you so much. It's great to have you.
Thank you.